Imagine, scrolling through Instagram and you see this young woman, beautiful, confident, sharing her life with, like, thousands of followers.
Yeah.
Alexis Sharkey.
Right. An influencer.
Showing travel, wellness routines, just like a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
But behind all the perfect pictures, a dark truth was hidden. Just a few days after Thanksgiving in 2020, Alexis disappeared. Gone.
Wow.
Leaving behind so many questions and a digital trail that hinted at a life way more trouble than she showed online.
Yeah, I bet.
Then the worst possible news.
God.
Her body was found, naked, on the side of a road in Houston,
Oh my gosh.
just shattering the illusion, shocking everyone who followed her.
I can imagine.
What happened to Alexis Sharkey? Was it random, or was there something more sinister going on?
That's what we're gonna try to uncover today. It's like a reminder that what we see online, well, isn't always real life.
Exactly. And as we go deeper into Alexis's story, we'll see the difference between her online life and what was really happening.
Yeah, it makes you think about online personas, about domestic violence, and about finding justice when things aren't what they seem.
This is CrimePod Castle's Twisted Crime series. And today we're diving deep into the Alexis Sharkey case, looking at clues, different sides of the story, and all the unanswered questions.
This case, it really got the whole country talking. Not just because it was so shocking, but because it touches on things we all deal with in our digital world today.
Right. It reminds us that every profile, it's a real person with their own problems and struggles that we might never see.
Absolutely. And Alexis's story, it shows how appearances can fool you and how chasing online perfection can hide, a darker side.
So let's step back and learn about Alexis, the woman beyond the Instagram filter. She was from Pennsylvania originally, but she moved to Houston with her husband, Tom Sharkey, for new opportunities.
Now, Tom was quite a bit older than Alexis, actually over 20 years older. And this age difference, well, it became important as investigators looked into their relationship.
To everyone else, they looked like the perfect couple. Alexis would post pictures of their trips, their apartment, their love, but behind that picture-perfect marriage, trouble was brewing.
Yeah, and this trouble, it wasn't obvious to her followers online. It was her close friends and family who noticed things changing. A feeling that something was off.
They said later that Alexis told them about problems in her marriage, saying Tom was controlling, that she felt trapped, and she was getting scared for her safety.
It's interesting how her private fears were so different from the perfect image she showed online. Makes you wonder about the pressure people feel, especially those in the public eye, to keep up appearances even when things are falling apart.
It's a reminder that online, what we see is often just the best moments, like a highlight reel hiding a more complicated and maybe disturbing truth.
And for Alexis, this carefully built image would be shattered by what happened next, bringing the darkness into the light.
It all started the day after Thanksgiving, 2020, when Alexis just vanished.
Just gone. It was a disappearance full of mystery, with conflicting stories, suspicious actions, and a digital trail that investigators had to piece together to try and find out the truth. So it was Tom, Alexis's husband, who reported her missing.
Right.
He called the police saying they'd had this big fight the night before and she just walked out and never came back.
Yeah, but there were things that didn't add up about his story right from the beginning.
Oh, really?
Like, he didn't want to talk to the police at first.
Mm.
And in interviews, he was avoiding questions. Red flags right there.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That kind of behavior, it's often a way for abusers to control the situation,
Right. To shift the blame.
Exactly. They want to manage the information, hoping to keep the investigation away from them.
So while Tom seemed like this worried husband desperately searching, the investigators, they started looking more closely at him, at his actions.
Mm-hmm.
And what they found, well, it wasn't good.
What did they find?
For example, his phone records and people who saw him, they showed he wasn't telling the truth about where he was before Alexis went missing.
Interesting.
And then, after she disappeared, he didn't try to get friends and family to help search. He kind of pulled away, which made people even more suspicious.
Right, because you'd think he'd want all the help he could get.
Exactly. Now, acting suspicious doesn't mean he's guilty, of course.
Yeah, of course not.
But it gave investigators a good reason to look into Tom's past and his relationship with Alexis.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And when they did, they found this pattern of him being controlling, even abusive, stuff that no one had seen before.
Oh, wow.
Alexis's friends talked about how possessive he was, how he tried to keep her away from them. They even mentioned times when he might have hurt her physically.
It's scary how often this happens. Domestic violence, it thrives in secrecy, behind closed doors,
Right.
hidden by a mask of normalcy.
Exactly. And this case also shows how important digital evidence is these days. Like, what kind of digital trail did Alexis leave behind?
Right.
Her social media, texts, location data, all that became super important for the investigators. It gave them glimpses into what she was thinking, how she was interacting with Tom, leading up to when she vanished.
That's fascinating. So even though they haven't shared everything they found publicly, I bet it played a big role in focusing the investigation on Tom as a suspect.
I think so, yeah. And then came the turning point. They found Alexis's body.
Oh, no.
A city worker just doing his job came across it. It was awful. Her body, naked, abandoned by the side of the road, miles from where anyone last saw her.
Oh, gosh, that's terrible.
It was horrible, and it made this case national news. The fact that she had no clothes, no belongings with her, just added to the mystery.
I can only imagine. The lack of clothing, that can be a big clue, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it means the killer was trying to get rid of evidence. But it could also be, well, something more disturbing.
Like what?
Like they wanted to humiliate her or stage the scene to mislead everyone.
With Alexis's body found, the case went from missing person to a murder investigation.
That makes sense. It's a completely different situation then.
The autopsy showed she was strangled. A very violent, very personal way to die. It had to be someone close to her.
Yeah, someone who knew her. And then they issued a warrant for Tom's arrest. They were going to charge him with Alexis's murder.
But then, in a crazy twist, before they could get him, Tom was found dead.
What?
Suicide. In a motel room in Florida.
Wow. So the investigation just ended there.
Yeah, it did. Which leaves so many questions unanswered. And a terrible feeling of injustice for Alexis's family and friends.
I bet. I mean, Tom taking his own life, some might see it as admitting guilt. But it leaves so much unknown. What really happened in those last moments? Did he take his secrets with him? Or was there something else going on? Something we'll never know.
What about Alexis, this young woman with so much life ahead of her? What can we learn from this? How can we use this tragedy to make people more aware of the dangers of domestic violence? It's often hidden,
Exactly. These are the questions we'll keep digging into as we look at the impact of this case and what it means for all of us.
It's so sad to think about. Someone so young, so full of life, caught in a situation like that. Alexis' story shows us that, domestic violence, it can happen to anyone, no matter who they are, what they look like, or how perfect their life seems online.
You're right. It happens everywhere. And
Yeah.
so often it goes unnoticed, hidden away. People don't talk about it.
And it's not always physical abuse, right?
Exactly. It can be emotional, financial,
Controlling.
isolating someone from their friends and family. It's all about power and control over the other person.
And with Alexis, we see how the image she showed online, it hid what was really happening.
Right.
So what can we do? How can we get better at seeing the signs of domestic violence, both in our own lives and online?
That's the big question. I think it starts with knowing more about it, being aware, paying attention to the warning signs, in person and online.
What kind of signs should we look for?
Well, let's say you have a friend who suddenly stops doing things they used to enjoy. They're always canceling plans.
Right.
They seem isolated, or their personality changes, their appearance changes. Those could be signs that something's wrong.
And what about like on social media? Are there red flags there that might mean someone's in an abusive relationship?
It's tricky because you don't want to assume things just from what you see online.
Yeah, true.
But there are some things to watch for, like if someone's partner seems to be controlling their posts, or if they start talking about feeling scared or trapped, it might be worth reaching out, checking in on them.
But it's hard, right? You don't want to be nosy.
I know what you mean. But sometimes just a simple message, letting someone know you're there for them, that can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Just to let them know they're not alone.
Exactly. It might give them the courage to open up, to ask for help.
And what if we think someone's in danger, like right now?
Then you call the police right away. There's also, hotlines, support groups, places that can help people get safe and make a plan.
We'll put those resources in the show notes for anyone who needs them. It's so important to remember. No one deserves to live in fear. There is help out there.
Absolutely. And Alexis's story, as tragic as it is, maybe it can help create change. By talking about it, making people more aware, supporting those who are hurting, we can work towards a world where domestic violence isn't ignored anymore, where it's not hidden.
It reminds us that we all need to look out for each other, not just in our own lives, but online too. We can't just stand by and watch. We have to do something, create a culture of respect, understanding, support.
I agree. And to anyone listening who might be in a dangerous, abusive relationship, you're not alone. There is help, and you deserve a life free from fear. Please take that first step, reach out.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Alexis Sharkey case. We hope this has helped you understand more about domestic violence, about being aware online, and about speaking up when you see something wrong.
If you want to learn more about this case or hear other true crime stories, follow Crime Podcastle and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We go deep into these cases, have discussions. It's really interesting.
Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep your eyes open.